The stars were bright, but they brought no comfort to Lyra as she floated helplessly inside the cold, metallic chamber of the Galactic Council. The walls hummed with strange energy, casting eerie shadows across the floor where strange symbols glowed faintly, as if the place itself was alive. She had been taken from her home without warning, ripped from the world she knew, and now she faced beings that were unlike anything she had ever imagined. Their eyes glinted with cold intelligence, their skin shimmered in colors she could not name, and their voices were sharp and strange, echoing in a language she could not understand, yet somehow carried the weight of command. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest as the doors of the chamber opened slowly, revealing the dragon. It was larger than any creature she had ever seen, with scales that reflected the light like molten metal and eyes that burned like twin suns. Its wings stretched across the room, blocking out the stars, and its claws clicked ominously on the floor as it moved. The air vibrated with its low growl, and Lyra could feel the heat even from a distance. The council members whispered among themselves, their alien voices sharp, as if tasting her fear, and pointed toward her. She knew what was coming. They were going to sacrifice her to this beast, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Every instinct inside her screamed to run, but there was nowhere to hide. Her mind raced with memories of home, her family, her small village, the soft green fields, and the laughter that now seemed like a lifetime ago, and tears pricked her eyes. The dragon lowered its massive head closer to her, nostrils flaring, sending a wave of hot air across her face. She could see every detail, the sharp ridges of its teeth, the flick of its forked tongue, the way its golden eyes studied her. A shiver ran down her spine, and she stumbled back, feeling the cold metal floor under her palms. Yet, as she stumbled, she noticed something strange. The dragon's eyes did not burn with rage or hunger the way she had expected. Instead, there was a curiosity there, a quiet intelligence that seemed almost human. The council's whispers grew louder, more urgent. They gestured wildly, pointing and shouting in their alien tongue, clearly growing impatient. Lyra's breath came in short gasps, and her mind spun with fear and disbelief. How could a creature this terrifying, this enormous, not strike her down immediately? She clutched her arms to herself, trying to make sense of what she was seeing, when suddenly the dragon made a soft, low rumble, almost like a purr. Her heart skipped. Could it be communicating? Lyra did not understand the sounds, but the tone was gentle, unlike anything she had heard from the council. Something inside her flickered, a tiny spark of hope amid the fear. She took a small, careful step forward, her voice trembling, yet determined. I am not your enemy. The council froze, their alien eyes narrowing, but the dragon's massive head tilted slightly, studying her. Its glowing eyes scanned her from head to toe, nostrils flaring, and for a moment, it was as if time itself had paused. The whispers of the council turned into hurried, anxious motions. They were losing control. Lyra felt a strange confidence rising inside her, a courage born of desperation. She straightened her back, looking into the dragon's eyes with all the determination she could muster. It was terrifying and magnificent, yet she refused to look away. She spoke again, slowly, carefully. I am not afraid of you. The dragon blinked, an almost imperceptible gesture, but enough for Lyra to feel a pulse of hope. The council gasped, their frustration and fear clear, and some even recoiled, unsure of what to do. The dragon shifted its massive body, letting out a roar that shook the chamber, but it did not strike her. Instead, it stepped closer, its gaze never leaving hers. Every instinct screamed danger, yet every ounce of fear mixed with awe. Lyra's heart raced as she realized this was no ordinary dragon. There was intelligence here, a consciousness that seemed capable of choice. The council's whispers became frantic, their patience slipping as they tried to regain control over the beast they had summoned. Lyra felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. One wrong move and everything could end. Yet, despite the fear, a strange bond seemed to form, a fragile thread connecting her courage to the dragon's curiosity. The dragon lowered its head even further, close enough for her to feel its warm breath, And for the first time since being captured, Lyra felt that maybe, just maybe, she had a chance. But the chamber was tense, the council still looming, and the danger far from gone. She had no idea what the next moments would bring, only that she had to survive, and somehow, she needed the dragon to trust her. And as the massive creature's eyes glimmered like molten gold, and the council's shouts grew louder, Lyra knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The moment hung in the air, thick with suspense, as everyone waited. The girl, the dragon, the council, each heartbeat echoing like a drum. The chamber shook as the dragon shifted its massive weight, the ground trembling beneath its claws. Sparks of energy danced along the walls as its scales shimmered, reflecting every flicker of the council's glowing symbols. Lyra stood frozen, her heart racing faster than ever. Yet there was no time to move. The council members shouted in their alien language, pointing frantically, but the dragon seemed to ignore them entirely. Its golden eyes, sharp and glowing, remained fixed on Lyra, and an unsettling intelligence swirled in its gaze. Every muscle in its enormous body flexed, rippling like steel, and when it spread its wings, the sound of wind and shadow filled the chamber, making Lyra stumble backward. She could feel the heat of its breath on her face, like a furnace, and the scent of fire and iron filled her nostrils. Her mind screamed danger, yet somehow the fear was mixed with wonder. She had never seen a creature so terrifying, yet so alive. The council continued their frantic motions, waving arms, sending energy pulses toward the dragon, trying desperately to control it, but it stood unmoved, as if nothing could influence its will. Lyra realized with a jolt that the dragon was not a mindless beast, not a weapon, but a thinking, feeling creature. And in that moment, she sensed a connection forming, fragile but undeniable. The dragon's roar shook the chamber, a low, vibrating sound that seemed to echo through her bones. Yet it carried no immediate threat toward her. Instead, it looked around, as if sensing the tension in the room, the fear and chaos of the council, and the courage of the small human girl. Lyra took a careful step forward, and her voice trembled as she spoke again. "I am not your enemy. Please." The dragon tilted its massive head, nostrils flaring, and a strange rumble rolled from deep within its throat, almost like a question. The council recoiled, astonished, unsure what to do next. Panic spread among them as the dragon began to move. Not aggressively, but deliberately, each step echoing like a drumbeat of power. Lyra felt her stomach tighten with fear, but also a strange surge of hope. The creature could kill her in a second, yet it did not. Instead, it lowered its colossal body slightly, its eyes never leaving hers. It was as if it was judging her, understanding her, sensing her intentions in a way no one had ever expected. Sparks flew from the council's energy weapons, zipping toward the dragon, but they bounced harmlessly off its shimmering scales, leaving a trail of smoke and heat in the air. The council shouted louder, fear edging their voices, but the dragon did not falter. Lyra's mind raced. She had to do something, say something, reach this creature somehow. She whispered, almost to herself, I want to help you." Her words trembled, small and fragile in the vast chamber, but the dragon's head lowered even further, closer to her, so that their eyes met. And then, in a motion that seemed impossible for a creature so enormous, it extended one massive claw, not to strike, but as if inviting her to step closer. Lyra swallowed hard, terror and awe mixing in her chest. Could she trust it? The council erupted in shouts, energy crackling in their hands, their anger and fear palpable. Yet the dragon did not move toward them. His attention was only on her. The girl's courage, born of desperation, surged. Slowly, carefully, she stepped toward the claw, reaching out with trembling hands. The dragon's eyes softened slightly, the golden fire in them flickering like a dying flame, and it lowered its massive head even further, brushing its warm snout against her. A shiver ran through her, not of fear, but of awe. The council was shouting, pointing, and yet no one could stop what was happening. Something extraordinary was unfolding. A human girl, standing unafraid, facing a monster no one had ever dared approach, and finding not death, but connection. Sparks and hums filled the air as the dragon shifted again, and then, almost imperceptibly, it nudged her gently with its snout, a gesture that both terrified and comforted her at the same time. Lyra realized that this was the moment that could decide everything. Her fate, the dragon's, and perhaps even the fate of the council who had dared summon such a being. And as the chamber shook with the low rumble of the dragon's heartbeat, as the council scrambled in panic, Lyra knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The creature that had once been her executioner now stood beside her in quiet judgment, its massive wings folded but ready to strike if provoked, its eyes filled with a strange curiosity and intelligence that no human could fully understand. And in that suspended, terrifying moment, she realized that the story was far from over. This dragon, this council, and this helpless girl were about to change the course of history in ways no one could have imagined. The chamber was still shaking from the dragon's massive presence, and Lyra's heart raced as she realized something extraordinary was happening. This beast, this monster that everyone had feared, was not attacking her. Instead, it watched her with an intelligence she could almost understand. Slowly, cautiously, she stepped closer, her small hands trembling but determined. The council's voices grew frantic, shouting in their alien language, waving energy pulses, but the dragon remained calm, its eyes locked on hers, almost as if it could sense her thoughts. Lyra realized that it was curious, not hostile, and a strange surge of courage rose within her. She spoke softly, almost whispering, I will not hurt you." The dragon's massive head tilted slightly, nostrils flaring, and it let out a low, resonant hum that vibrated through the floor. She felt it in her bones, a sound that carried more meaning than words could. It was as if the creature was responding, acknowledging her bravery. Her fear mixed with awe, and in that moment, something clicked inside her. A thought that she might not just survive this encounter, but perhaps even befriend this monster. The council, growing impatient, began waving their arms furiously, sending crackling bolts of energy toward the dragon, trying to assert control. Sparks and flashes lit the room, yet the dragon did not attack. Instead, it shifted its enormous body, turning slightly, its eyes following the human girl as if considering her every move. Lyra's mind raced. She had to act carefully. She could feel that one wrong step could end everything, yet she also sensed that this creature might be the only way she could survive. Slowly, she extended her hand, her voice shaking but steady. I am not afraid. I want to help you." The dragon's eyes flickered, and it took a small step toward her, so massive that the floor quaked under its weight. Lyra's heart pounded so loudly she thought it might echo in the entire chamber. She could almost feel its warm breath as it lowered its enormous head, brushing a ridge of scales near her shoulder. Every instinct screamed danger, yet the fear was now mixed with an undeniable thrill, a strange hope that maybe, just maybe, she had found an ally. The council members screamed in rage, shouting and gesturing, but their efforts seemed futile. The dragon, this living mountain of scales and claws, did not move toward them. Instead, it nudged Lyra gently, an action that was both terrifying and comforting, like a warning and a promise at the same time. A tiny spark of trust formed between them, fragile yet real, and Lyra felt it ignite inside her. A courage she had never known. She realized that the dragon was not mindless. It understood more than she could imagine. The council's panic grew, and they began moving closer, trying to regain control. But the dragon's low growl resonated through the chamber, shaking the walls and sending them stumbling back. Lyra could feel the power of the creature, and she knew she had to stay calm, to stay brave, or risk losing this connection she had barely begun to form. She took another step forward, her voice firmer now. "I am on your side. We don't have to hurt each other." The dragon's eyes softened, and for a moment, the golden fire in them flickered like a candle in a storm. It lowered its massive body further, almost bowing to her, and she felt an incredible weight of trust passing between them. It was surreal, this massive, terrifying dragon, bending its will, its attention, and perhaps even its loyalty toward a single human girl. The council's frantic motions became desperate now, some trying to attack, others shouting in disbelief. But the dragon stood unwavering, protecting Lyra instead of harming her. Lyra's breath caught in her throat, and she realized that she had done something no one else had dared. She had faced the monster with courage and had earned its attention and respect. Sparks flew from alien weapons, lighting up the chamber, but the dragon only moved slightly, shielding her without touching the council. Lyra's heart swelled with hope, and she realized that this connection could change everything. She whispered, I think you can trust me." The dragon rumbled again, a sound that felt like agreement. And in that moment, Lyra understood that her fate was no longer fully in the hands of the council. She had found a powerful ally, one that could decide the outcome of this deadly situation. Yet, the danger was far from gone. The council would not give up easily, and the chamber still hummed with energy and threats. Still, for the first time since being captured, Lyra felt a flicker of control. The dragon, enormous and terrifying, had chosen to stand with her, not against her, and the air was thick with tension and possibility. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum as she realized that her life, and perhaps the future of this strange world, now rested on the bond she had just begun to form with this magnificent creature. And as the council scrambled and the dragon's golden eyes studied her, Lyra knew that the next moments would decide everything. Whether she would survive, whether the dragon would fight for her, and whether the small spark of hope she had kindled could survive the coming storm. The chamber erupted in chaos as the dragon moved with a power no one had expected. Sparks flew from the council's energy weapons, bouncing harmlessly off its shimmering scales as it roared, shaking the walls and sending the floor vibrating under everyone's feet. Lyra's heart pounded so fast she felt it in her throat, but she knew she could not freeze. She had to stay close to the dragon, the only ally she had in this deadly place. The council members screamed, shouting orders, waving their hands wildly, and firing more weapons. But the dragon ignored them, its eyes still locked on her, following her every movement. It seemed to understand that she was not the enemy, and every instinct inside her told her that it might be the only chance to survive. Lyra stumbled backward as one council member tried to grab her, only to be flung across the room by the dragon's massive tail with a force that shook the chamber like an earthquake. Screams echoed, metal groaned, and the glowing symbols on the walls flickered and pulsed in time with the dragon's roars. She could feel the heat of its breath and the vibration of its wings as it moved, the air thick with smoke and fear. Slowly, carefully, Lyra realized she could move toward the exit, but she had to guide the dragon, or risk it turning on her by accident. "This way!" she shouted, her voice trembling, pointing toward the doors that led out of the council chamber. The dragon's massive head turned in that direction, and a low rumble vibrated through the air, almost like it understood her. Council members tried to block the path, forming a wall of energy and yelling, but the dragon did not hesitate. With a single sweep of its claws, it shattered barriers and sent aliens flying, leaving Lyra stunned and terrified, yet alive. Her mind raced. She had never imagined a creature so enormous, so powerful, could be an ally, and yet here it was, obeying her unspoken guidance. Sparks and smoke filled the air as the council scrambled, their panic and anger mounting, but the dragon seemed unstoppable. Lyra could feel her heart pounding, but also a strange thrill. She was no longer just a helpless girl. She was part of something extraordinary. Slowly, she gained the courage to climb onto the dragon's back, gripping its scales carefully as it lowered its body slightly to help her up. The council shouted in disbelief, their energy pulses crackling toward them. But the dragon spread its wings and leapt into the air, shaking the chamber as it rose. Lyra held on tightly, the wind whipping through her hair, her stomach dropping as the massive beast soared. Below them, the council members were running, shouting, their tiny forms dwarfed by the enormous creature carrying her to safety. Lyra could see the city around them, alien towers and glowing streets, all bathed in the light of distant stars, and for a moment, She felt freedom, though danger was still very close. Energy bolts flew from the council, but the dragon dodged and twisted with astonishing speed, carrying her further and further from the chamber that had been a trap. Lyra could feel the connection between them growing stronger, each movement in sync, each heartbeat echoing like a drum. She realized that her courage, her willingness to face the dragon instead of running, had created this bond, and now, together, they were unstoppable. But the council would not give up easily. She knew that much. She could hear their shouts echoing through the night sky as they tried to follow, their ships lifting off, weapons aimed. But the dragon's wings carried them higher and faster than anything she had ever imagined. The wind tore past her. The stars stretched into streaks of light, and for the first time since being captured, Lyra felt that she might actually survive, that she might actually win. Her small hands gripped the dragon tightly as she whispered, almost to herself, "Thank you for saving me." The dragon rumbled in response, a deep, vibrating sound that felt like it carried understanding and acknowledgement. And as they soared above the alien city, leaving the chaos behind, Lyra realized that the battle was far from over. The council was powerful, dangerous, and determined. But now, with this incredible creature at her side, she had a chance to fight back, to survive, and perhaps even change the fate of her world and theirs. The wind howled around them, the stars gleamed like watchful eyes, and the shadow of the dragon stretched long across the city below, a living symbol of chaos and hope entwined. And in that moment, high above the council and their schemes, Lyra knew one truth clearly. She was no longer helpless, and this dragon was no longer a monster. Together, they were unstoppable. But the danger was not gone, only transformed, and the next steps would decide everything. The council would chase, the skies would shake, and every choice could be the difference between survival and destruction. And as the dragon's golden eyes locked on hers, she felt the tiniest spark of a plan forming, an idea that might just turn the tide in their favor, if they could survive long enough to see it through. The dragon soared into the night sky, its massive wings cutting through the thin air, carrying Lyra far above the alien city that had tried to claim her life. Below, the council scrambled in their ships, energy weapons streaking across the darkness. But the dragon twisted and dove with astonishing speed, avoiding each attack as if the stars themselves guided its flight. Lyra clung tightly to the shimmering scales along its back, her heart racing with every beat of its colossal wings, the wind roaring past her ears. She could see entire planets in the distance, glowing like jewels in the void, and for a moment, the terror that had gripped her since capture began to fade, replaced by awe and a strange thrill she had never known. The dragon's golden eyes flicked toward her occasionally, and each time, she felt a connection deepening, a trust forming that went beyond words. Its low, resonant hum vibrated through her bones, almost like a heartbeat, and she realized that this magnificent creature had become more than a savior. It was a companion, a guardian, and perhaps even a friend. The council's ships pursued them relentlessly, their beams of energy streaking past, narrowly missing the dragon's massive body. But Lyra noticed something incredible. The dragon seemed to anticipate every attack, twisting and turning through space with instinctive precision. Sparks and light flared around them as the council fired relentlessly. Yet the dragon flew higher, faster, weaving through asteroid fields and glowing nebulae, painting streaks of fire and shadow across the stars. Lyra held her breath, amazed at the sight, and felt a thrill run through her veins. This was no longer just a flight for survival. It was an adventure beyond her wildest dreams. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "We can do this together." The dragon's rumble responded, deep and approving, and Lyra felt the bond between them strengthen further. Suddenly, from above, she spotted a massive alien warship blocking their path, its energy cannons charging, ready to unleash devastation. Panic surged in her chest, but the dragon's body shifted beneath her, powerful muscles coiling as if it had already made a plan. Lyra gripped tightly, feeling the wind whip through her hair, and the dragon banked sharply, diving toward a swirling field of asteroids. The warship fired, sending glowing bolts streaking past, but the dragon moved like liquid steel, dodging with impossible agility. Lyra's heart pounded as they weaved through the dense asteroid field, the rocks illuminated by the streaks of energy from the Council's ships. Sparks flew as a stray bolt grazed one of the asteroids, exploding in a dazzling burst of light, and for a moment, Lyra feared the worst. But the dragon was steady, calm, and brilliant, guiding them through the chaos with a precision that seemed almost supernatural. As they emerged from the asteroid field, Lyra's breath caught at the sight before her. An endless field of stars, distant planets, and glowing nebulae stretching infinitely. She realized they were no longer just fleeing. They were flying through a universe that few humans had ever seen, a world of beauty and danger intertwined. She looked at the dragon, its golden eyes reflecting the stars, and felt a wave of gratitude, awe, and hope. For the first time, she understood that courage, trust, and connection could create miracles. Yet danger was far from gone. Council ships still pursued them, firing relentlessly, and the vacuum of space was merciless. Lyra noticed a faint energy signature from one ship, a massive weapon capable of destroying the dragon if it hit. Panic surged in her chest, but she took a deep breath, remembering the intelligence she had seen in the dragon, and whispered, "We'll make it, we have to." The dragon responded with a low rumble, dipping and rising, twisting through space like a living shadow of fire. Lyra clung on, feeling the thrill of speed and freedom, every nerve alert, yet a strange calm settled over her. She realized that she was no longer just surviving. She was flying, truly flying, alongside a creature that defied imagination. Sparks of light and shadow streaked past as they weaved through enemy fire, and she could feel the dragon's power, its awareness, its willingness to protect her no matter what. And in that moment, high above alien cities and warships, among the stars that stretched endlessly, Lyra understood that she was no longer a helpless girl. She was a partner in something extraordinary. But the Council would not stop. They were relentless, cunning, and ruthless, and somewhere ahead, a far greater challenge awaited. Lyra's mind raced with possibilities, her fingers gripping the scales as the dragon banked sharply, and she whispered, "We're not done yet. We have to survive, for both of us." The dragon rumbled again, as if acknowledging her words, and together, they flew deeper into the stars, leaving chaos behind but heading toward a destiny that neither human nor dragon could yet fully understand, a journey that would change everything. The stars stretched endlessly around them, but danger was closing in fast. The Council had regrouped, their massive warships forming a tight formation, weapons charged and glowing ominously, aiming straight for the dragon and Lyra. She clung tightly to its scales, heart racing, her mind spinning with fear and determination. The dragon's wings beat powerfully, creating gusts that rattled the few remaining shards of asteroid between them, and its golden eyes scanned the enemy ships with deadly precision. Lyra could see the Council's energy beams slicing through space, lighting up the darkness with deadly streaks. But the dragon moved like a living shadow, dodging and twisting with impossible agility. Sparks and explosions lit the void as the Council fired relentlessly. Yet the dragon countered with blasts of fiery breath, scorching metal and sending smaller ships spinning into debris. Lyra's stomach dropped and her chest ached from the adrenaline. But she knew she had to focus. Somewhere deep inside the dragon, she sensed it responding to her thoughts, to her courage, and together they began a deadly dance through the void. One massive ship fired a beam directly at them, and Lyra screamed as the light tore across space. But the dragon banked sharply, twisting its massive body, letting the beam strike an asteroid that exploded in a shower of sparks. She held on tightly, realizing that every movement, every decision, was a battle for survival, and she was no longer helpless. In the chaos, the dragon roared, a sound so powerful it shook even the armored hulls of the Council's largest ships. Lyra felt the vibration through her bones, and her fear mixed with awe. The Council panicked, trying to regroup, but the dragon was relentless, circling, dodging, and striking with precision that no human mind could imagine. Lyra's courage surged as she shouted instructions to the dragon, pointing toward weak spots she had noticed in the Council's formation. and the creature responded instantly, diving and twisting with deadly accuracy. Sparks flew as energy beams collided with fiery blasts, lighting up the dark expanse of space in a surreal spectacle of power. Then, a massive cannon from the Council's flagship fired, a beam so intense it could destroy the dragon in one hit. Lyra's heart stopped. She realized that unless she acted quickly, they would be gone in an instant. The dragon banked sharply, narrowly avoiding the beam, and she noticed a hidden control panel on the flagship, exposed in the chaos. Gathering every ounce of courage, she whispered, "We can do this. We have to stop it." With trembling hands, she reached toward the controls, guiding the dragon's movements to line up a precise strike. The dragon understood, as if sensing her intentions, and together they executed a daring maneuver, twisting through space and aiming its fiery breath at the weak point she had spotted. The cannon exploded in a blinding flash, sending the flagship spinning into debris, and the Council ships faltered, their formation broken. Lyra clung tightly, her heart pounding with relief and exhilaration, as the dragon let out a triumphant roar that echoed across the void. But the battle was not yet over. Smaller ships swarmed, firing relentlessly, and the dragon's massive wings grew tired, each beat consuming energy and focus. Lyra knew she had to help, had to find a way to ensure survival for both of them. Her mind raced, searching for a solution, and then she remembered something the Council had whispered before. The dragon's kind had ancient secrets, powers that could turn the tide. She whispered to the dragon, gently but firmly, guiding its thoughts as best she could. "You are stronger than they believe. Show them who you truly are." The dragon's golden eyes blazed, and a massive surge of power erupted from its body, a force of fire, energy, and raw strength that sent the remaining ships scattering, unable to resist the unstoppable assault. Lyra felt the heat and vibration around her, terrifying yet exhilarating, and she knew they had won the battle. Slowly, the Council's forces fled, their ships battered and broken, leaving only silence and stars. The dragon descended, massive wings folding gently, and Lyra slid from its back, knees weak but heart soaring. She looked up at the creature that had saved her life, the one she had formed a bond with, and whispered, "We did it, we survived." The dragon rumbled softly, almost like a reply, and for the first time since her capture, Lyra smiled without fear. The Council had been defeated, the skies of space were calm again, and she knew that nothing would ever be the same. Together, she and the dragon had survived the impossible, proving that courage, trust, and connection could overcome even the most powerful forces. And as the stars stretched endlessly above, she realized that this was not just survival. It was a victory, a beginning of a new journey, and the start of a story that would be remembered for ages to come. The battle was over, and the silence of space stretched around them, broken only by the gentle hum of the dragon's wings as it hovered above a quiet planet far from the Council's reach. Lyra slid from its back, her knees weak but her heart full, and for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, she breathed freely, without fear pressing against her chest. The dragon lowered its massive head, its golden eyes soft and glowing, and she reached up to touch its warm scales, feeling the bond they had forged through fire, danger, and trust. Around them, the wreckage of the Council's ships floated silently, reminders of the chaos that had been, yet also proof that courage and determination could overcome even the greatest threats. Lyra looked out at the stars stretching endlessly above and felt an overwhelming sense of freedom. The Council, with all its power and fear, could no longer control her or the dragon. Together, they had survived, defying the odds, and in that victory, a new understanding had formed. The dragon, once feared as a monster, now moved with a gentle awareness, as if it too understood that the world could be more than just fear and destruction. Slowly, Lyra realized that their journey had changed something inside her as well. She was no longer the helpless girl who had been taken from her home. She was brave, capable, and connected to a creature that many had thought untouchable. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "We are free, truly free." The dragon rumbled in response, and Lyra felt a warmth and strength pass between them that spoke louder than any words. They were no longer just human and dragon. They were allies, friends, and protectors of each other. In the distance, she saw faint lights flickering on the planet's surface, signs of life, quiet and peaceful, untouched by the Council's cruelty. Lyra realized that this new world could be a place of hope, a place where humans and other beings might coexist, free from fear and oppression. Her heart swelled with the possibility of new beginnings, and she felt a profound sense of purpose. She turned to the dragon, brushing her hand along its massive snout, and smiled. "We've survived everything. Now it's our turn to make a better world." The dragon rumbled deeply, almost like laughter, and lifted its wings, soaring higher with her beside it, gliding through the stars with elegance and power. Together, they looked out across the vastness of space, knowing that they had not only defeated the Council, but had also proven something far greater. Courage, trust, and kindness could triumph over cruelty and fear. Lyra's thoughts drifted to those she had left behind on her home planet, and a wave of determination swept over her. She would carry the story of this adventure, of the bond she had formed with a creature that no one else dared approach, and inspire others to be brave, compassionate, and fearless. And as the stars sparkled around them like endless possibilities, she whispered again, "We will protect each other, and the universe too." The dragon circled gently, the wind from its wings carrying a sense of calm and safety, and Lyra felt tears of joy and relief streaming down her cheeks. The Council would not return here. Their reign of fear was over, and though the journey had been perilous, it had taught her the greatest lesson of all. Even in the darkest moments, hope could survive, courage could shine, and one small human could make a difference in a universe filled with unimaginable beings and dangers. Together, Lyra and the dragon drifted through the night sky, a symbol of freedom, trust, and unity, their story shining brightly among the stars. And in that peaceful moment, she knew that she had not only survived, she had triumphed, learned, and grown, and that the universe itself had become a place where friendship, bravery, and love could overcome even the most terrifying monsters. The adventure had ended, but the bond they shared, and the hope they carried, would last forever. A story to be remembered, shared, and celebrated by all who believed in courage and the power of trust. Lyra smiled, looking up at the dragon, and whispered, "Let's go home, together."